Hello, welcome once again. So, in today's class, we'll be looking at the second part of the topic population of Nigeria. And so, today we are going to look at the working population of Nigeria, and also we are going to account for factors that affect the population distribution. And then we'll look at the concept of population quality and also how we can describe population movements and also population data. So let's look at the working population, otherwise known as the labor force. Now, when we talk about the working population, we are talking about the people between the ages of 18 and 60 who are allowed by law, customs and other factors to work, and also they make themselves available for work. Now, the factors which can affect the working population or the labor force of a particular place includes the size of the population, the age structure of the population, the official school leaving age, and also the age of retirement. Now, in terms of size of population, most times the higher the population, the higher the tendency to have, a large labor force. And the age structure of the population can also, play a key factor in deciding the working population of a particular place. Now, a place where we have more of aged adults and more of children below 16, 18 years will have a lesser workforce compared to a place where we have teenagers and working adults. So this age structure can easily impact the working population statistics in a particular country. And also the official school leaving age is also a factor that can either hinder or increase the labor force of a particular place. Now, if a country has, let's say, an official school leaving age of 18 and a country has an official school leaving age of 25 years, now you see that the country with a lesser age for school leaving will tend to have more people in their workforce, in the sense that at the age of 18 it is very easy to start up a job for yourself. At the age of 18 it's very easy to get employed, compared to a country where you have to wait till you get to 25 years before you start a job. And also the age of retirement, the higher the retirement age, the higher the possibility of having more workers in the labor force, because when people retire too soon, it will also affect the working population size. So countries where the age of retirement is usually extended to 60, they tend to have more compared to countries where it is pegged at 55 or 50 years. So this is a typical example of what the working population is, and it's just made up of people that can do any form of work, and they are permitted by the law of the country. So let's look at occupational distribution. Since we know what the working population is, now let's look at the working population, and how their occupation is being distributed. Now, the occupational distribution simply talks about the types of jobs people have, or the types of jobs they do. And it's actually divided into three categories. The first one is seen as the primary occupation, and they include things like farming, things like fishing, things like mining. And this sector, they actually engage, with nature. They get their resources from nature, and they produce everything they get from what? From nature. Then the second category of occupation we have in Nigeria is the secondary occupation, and it talks about the manufacturing industries. So this sector, all they do is that they get the raw materials from the primary sector, that's the primary occupational sector, and they transform it to what? To finished goods or semi-finished goods that can be used by possibly any secondary industry or the final what? Consumers. And the third occupational distribution in Nigeria is the tertiary service occupation. So the teachers, the bankers, the transport service providers, and other agencies around, they fall under this category. So their job is basically to render services to people. So people who are in this category of the working population, they don't manufacture anything, they don't interact with nature, but instead they render services to people and they get paid in return. So a good example of what the occupational distribution is here on the screen. Here we have a farmer, here we have the oil rig that is in the extractive industries. Here we have a teacher, and here we have a lawyer, a banker, and a fisherman. So you see that these are what various occupations that we have in Nigeria, and they make up for the working population of a particular country. So let's head over to the sex distribution of population. So when we talk about the sex distribution of population, we are actually talking about the classification of population according to their gender. Yes, male and female. And the implication of this sex distribution is that it will influence birth rate. And in a place where we have a higher population for women, you realize that the birth rate will be very, very high. And also the size of the labor force will be influenced because places with a larger number of females will have a lower size of labor force, especially when it has to do with industries where the work is usually strenuous. Now, let's look at the geographical distribution of population. Now, when we talk about the geographical distribution of population, we are actually talking about how people are spread, over a given geographical area in terms of where they live, And in Nigeria, if you look at the geographical landscape of the country, you realize that the places where we have a high population density is usually centered on the three major ethnic groups we have in Nigeria. So we have it more in the Igbo land, we have it in the Yoruba land, and we also have it in the north, and Kano to be precise. And the middle belt area of Nigeria usually has a low population density. Now, what are the factors affecting the geographical distribution of population? So the first factor is soil fertility. People tend to live in places where the soil is fertile and the condition for growing plants and rearing animals is good. When we have places in the country where people can plant cash crops, can plant food crops, people can venture into agriculture and make a whole lot of money, you tend to have a larger number of people moving towards such a particular geographical area. But in a place where the soil structure is, the soil nutrient is very poor, and the land around such a particular geographical location is not good for planting, you tend to have people lesser in such a particular place, especially people with the mindset of agriculture, people that want to venture into agriculture as a source of livelihood, and even companies too, so they stay away from such places. Then the second factor that can affect population distribution in a place is the climate. Places with a moderate climate, and adequate rainfall will always attract more people. People tend to live in a place where the climatic condition is conducive for them, where they can, reside without having issues with the climate, where they can, live and do their business. A place where the climatic condition won't really affect their day-to-day activity. So people prefer to live in such a particular place. A good example in Nigeria is the northern part of Nigeria and the southern part of Nigeria. Now you realize that people are more concentrated in the southern part of the country than the extreme north. That's because the climate in the northern part of Nigeria, which is basically the Sahel and the Sudan climate, is usually harsh in terms of the low level of rainfall, in terms of the high amount of sunshine, and the low level of humidity that is in such a particular place. So people prefer to migrate down to the western part of Nigeria, the southwest and the southeast and the south to carry out their day-to-day activity. So climate also affects the population distribution of a place. Then the next factor that can affect population distribution is topography. Now the appearance of a particular place, the structure of a particular piece of land can actually hamper the population size of that place. Now places that that have a rugged topography, places that are on a high landscape like highland areas or mountainous or hilly regions, they tend to have a low population, compared to places where we have lowlands and river valley. Now, a good scenario is the Eastern Highland. Excuse the Eastern Highland in Nigeria. If you look at the Eastern Highland, places bordering Nigeria and Cameroon, you realize that the population distribution in such a particular place is usually lower compared to the lowland regions in Nigeria, such as the Niger Delta and also places along the Niger-Benue Trough and the Sokoto lowland region. Now, you see, the reason for this is that people prefer the lowland region because it facilitates human settlement, that supports human settlement, and also it's good for transport and communication networks, and also human activities, commercial and economic activities, we thrive more in these lowland areas. So as a result of that, the lowland area, we tend to have a higher population distribution compared to places that are on a highland and a rugged topography. Then the next factor that affects population distribution is natural resources. A place with a good amount of natural resource will tend to attract more people and also organizations and companies to itself. So places where people can see resources like crude oil, gold, silver, and the rest will have more settlements compared to a place that lacks such. And the next factor affecting population distribution is economic activity. A place that is booming and flourishing with lots of economic activities like buying and selling, industries and infrastructure will influence settlement pattern. And these places, they will always have a higher population density compared to places where the population is very, very low. And then we talk about the administrative and educational centers. They also attract people, and they help in increasing the population distribution of a particular place. Take for instance, a location in a particular in Nigeria where we have tertiary institutions like universities, polytechnics, and college of education. Now, these places, they will tend to have more residents around there. And a place where the administrative function of the state or the country is being carried out will also have more population to itself. So administrative buildings and educational centers can as well affect the population distribution of a place. And then also we talk about the historical factors, and government policies. Now, a place with a good historical factor and good government policy will tend to attract, people to, reside in such a particular place. So these are all of the factors that can affect population what distribution of a place. Now, let's look at the concept of population quality. What is population quality? When we talk about population quality, we are actually talking about the quality of life of the people living in a country. The quality of what? Of life of the people living in a what? Country. If the quality of life is low, or if the quality of life is of a high standard, or even of a what? Of a moderate standard. So that quality of life of a particular place is what we call what? Population quality. And also we can see population quality as the average potential capability or the potential work capacity of the population of a country. So a place or a country where the potential work capacity is very low will as well have a what? A low population quality. If you look at the developed countries and the underdeveloped countries of the world, you realize that these developed countries of the world, the potential work capacity is very high. It's very easy to get a good job. It's very easy to get a job that will help improve your standard of living compared to an underdeveloped country where the standard of living is very low, owing to the fact that most people there of a working class age cannot afford a good job to upscale their standard of living. So that's population quality. Now let's quickly look at the factors that can actually affect population quality. Now the one factor that affects population quality is the health status of the people. A place where the health status is of a very high standard, a place where we have good health, advanced health facilities, and advancements in the medical field, will tend to have a good population quality. But if you look at the other side of it, a place where the health status is very bad and they have poor medical facilities and the rest, you see that people tend to die on time. People tend to fall sick. People tend to live, in a poor manner because of their health. So that's one factor that can affect the population quality of a place. Then the next factor that can affect population quality is the level of education and also technological advancement. So a place where the level of education is very high and a place with a high technological advancement or development, such a particular place will have a high and a very good population quality. And also the standard of living of a place can as well affect the population quality of a place. When a place has a high standard of living, you see that the population quality will be very, very very, very high, and people will prefer such a particular destination. But a place where the standard of living is very bad or very poor will have a low population quality. Then we talk about things like absence of disease. A place that is not plagued with disease, will have a high population quality or a very good population quality. If you go to a place where we have rampant cases of malaria, typhoid fever, cholera, measles, yellow fever, and the rest, you see that such a particular place, the quality of life of the people living there will be very, very, very low. Then we also talk about the level of personal hygiene of the people. Now, when the people living in such a particular place, they maintain a very high level of personal hygiene, the quality of life there will also be what? Be very high. But if they maintain a very bad level of personal hygiene, you see that the population quality there will be what? Will be very low. Then a good example is the slums, the ghettos, and the shanties. Now, when you go to such a particular location, you realize that the level of personal hygiene in such a geographical location is very what? Very bad. And as a result of that, the quality of life there is very low. Then the next thing we can also talk about is the health facilities, present in a particular what? Geographical location. A place with a high standard or a high level of health facility, place where they have advanced medical equipment, they tend to what? Have a good what? Population quality compared to a place where such facilities cannot be what? Cannot be found. So these are the factors that affect what? The population quality of a place. Now, let's talk about the next aspect of population in Nigeria, which is population movement or migration. So if we don't call it population movement, we can as well call it what? Migration. And then what is migration? Now, migration is simply defined as the movement of what? People from one geographical area to another what? Geographical area. I say it again, the movement of what? People from one geographical area to another what? Geographical area. And the reason for this is that people move from one geographical area to another for a lot of what? Of reasons, which we are going to look at in this what? In this class. And the area where people are living is called the source region, while the area where people are actually heading to or they are entering is called the what? The destination region or the receiving region. Let's say I'm based in Nigeria and I want to go to Luxembourg. Now, Nigeria is the source region. Then Luxembourg, where I am heading to, is actually the destination region or the receiving what? Region. So, knowing that, let's look at the types of what? Migration. So basically we have two types of what? Of migration. Now, the first type of migration is called emigration. Now, when people move out of their own country, it is seen as what? Emigration. You move what? You move out. So if I'm going to Luxembourg, I am emigrating out of what? Of Nigeria. I am what? Emigrating out of Nigeria to what? To Luxembourg. Now, immigration on the other hand is the type of migration in which people move into another what? Country. You move into another country. So if I'm moving to Luxembourg, it means that I am immigrating into what? Luxembourg, and I'm emigrating out of what? Of Nigeria. So that is what immigration is. Now, the difference in a country, the difference between the number of people entering, that is immigrating, and the number of people leaving, emigrating, is called net migration. So in order to calculate net migration, you look at the number of people leaving the country, and you also look at the number of people coming into the country, and then you find the difference. So the difference between people entering and what? And going out is called the net migration. So take note for that. Now, what are the factors influencing population distribution? What are the factors? Before we look at that, let's quickly look at the forms of population distribution. Now, population distribution can be from a rural area to an urban area, and also it can be from a rural area to a rural area, and also it can be from urban to rural area, and also it can be from urban to urban, and it can also be from um, from a country to another country. That's the international migration, and it can as well be a seasonal migration. Now, from the rural to urban, it means leaving a place like a village towards to a city. Then from the rural to the rural, it means living from the village to possibly another word, village or hamlet. Then from the urban to rural migration, it has to do with moving from a city or a town or just a developed center towards to a village or a hamlet. Then from the urban to urban, it means leaving a city or a town or a metropolis to another word, another one. Then the international migration has to do with moving from one country to another. Then seasonal migration has to do with people traveling from one place to another at a particular season. Example, Easter, Christmas, and also summer holidays and other words, other holidays. So what are the reasons for migrating? What are the reasons for migrating? So the people migrate because they want to change their words, their status. They just want a good education, they want wealth, they want promotion, so they migrate out. And another reason for migration is natural words, disasters. Things like flood, things like famine, earthquake, erosion, epidemic. These factors, they cause people to what? To migrate. And the physical conditions like climate relief, soil, desertification, acidity, and the rest, they also what? Make people to migrate from one place to what? To another. And things like population pressure on land resource can cause people to what? To migrate. And then insecurity, maybe there's political instability, there's war going on, there's a coup going on, and the rest. All of this can as well what? Cause people to what? To migrate from one place to another. And also the change in social amenities, like water supply, electricity, and the rest, they can as well what? Make people to what? To migrate to a particular location. Then economic opportunities like job, like commercial activities is also a factor that can cause people to what? Migrate. And when we talk about the reasons for migration, these reasons are also the what? The factors that affect the migration of a place. So if we look at it, you see that the physical condition or the climate of a place can affect the population distribution. Political instability, presence of social amenities and infrastructures, economic opportunities, the resources, natural disaster, desire for greener pastures, all of these things, they actually what? Affect the population movement of a particular what? Of a particular place. So, okay, now let's look at the advantages of migration. Now, the first advantage of migration is that it promotes cultural integration. Now, when people move from one particular geographical location to another, they tend to, interact and, dwell with people from another world, from that geographical location actually. And as a result of that, we'll have integration of what? Of culture, existing between the migrants and the residents over there. And this cultural integration can as well help to foster unity. A good example is interethnic marriage. When people marry people that they meet in a particular geographical location, let's say you're based in Rivers State and you migrate to Lagos State and you dwell in Lagos State for a while and then you get married to someone from Lagos State. That's one good advantage of what? Of migration. Then the second advantage of migration is that it helps to reduce population pressure on the social amenities that we have at the source region. Now, a good example is a place, let's use an imaginative place called A. Now, A is a very nice place with a very high population. That's because let's say they have everything the residents they need, to survive in that place. Now, if they discover a new location called B as good as A, and they begin to move over to B, we have the population of people now moving from A towards to town B. Now the thing is that the population pressure of people, on the social amenities at A will reduce drastically. The social amenities like road, water supply, electricity, and the rest, the influence or the impact the people have on these benefits will reduce, because they are now what they are now migrating to a particular place. So the source region from where they are migrating from will have a less population pressure on their resources, and also it will reduce population pressure on agricultural land at the source region. There will be more land because people are living for. There will be more land for planting. There will be more land for rearing of animals and the rest. And also it causes development of social amenities in the receiving region. So when people move, they move in with their ideas, they move in with their concept, they move in with their resources, and they help to increase the social amenities in the destination region. And also it supplies labor to the receiving end. So migration will cause the labor force of the destination region to increase. And the next one is that it helps to boost market and commercial activities at the receiving end. So let's look at the disadvantages. Now, a disadvantage of migration is that it will cause congestion in housing and transportation at the destination region. As you're going to another country, or you're going to another state, or you're going to another local government area, you see that the more influx of people we have, the more the congestion in housing and also transportation. A good example is Lagos State, where we have a large number of Nigerians, moving towards that particular destination. Then as a result of that, we have things like traffic congestion, we have housing congestion, and in fact we even have things like scarcity of housing, for people to stay in. Then another disadvantage of migration is that it leads to shortage of able-bodied persons at the source region. So when you have people living to another country, the labor force of that place will reduce drastically. Then also, the disadvantage of migration is that it leads to increase in social vices. Things like crime, armed robbery, kidnapping, will increase because the population of people there is also increasing. And also, the pressure on social amenities of the receiving region will increase because people are now going to that place, and they will use these social amenities. They will use it day to day. So when you have a higher number of people, coming in to use it, there will be more pressure on these resources. And also the cost of living will as well increase. There will be a high cost of living, and there will be a decline in food production in the source region. When people leave to the other place, that is the destination region, the source region will have a low level of food production because of the labor force being reduced drastically. And the next disadvantage of migration is that it will increase the rate of unemployment in the destination region. So when people migrate to the destination region, you see that there will be a competition for employment opportunities. Now, let's quickly look at population data or population statistics. Now, when we talk about population data, we are actually talking about the use of statistics to analyze the characteristics or changes in the population. So when we, get, different statistics or data about the population of a particular place, and we use it to, study the population of that place, we see that data as as population data. And one good way to get population data or population statistics is by carrying out what we call a population census. So we need to carry out population census to know the number of men, the number of women, the number of children, the number of old adults and young adults, and number of people working and number of people not working. This population census will help us to get all of this data, and when we get this data, we can easily study the outcome of the population of that place. So what do we use population statistics or population data for? Number one, we use to determine the birth rate and the death rate of that particular place. And also we use it for migration purposes. Countries, especially developed countries or the first world countries, they actually have this population statistics or data with them to know the number of migrants and immigrants and the number of actual residents in that place. And also population statistics can be used to determine the age distribution of the population of that place. It can also be used for the occupational distribution of the population, and as well used to decide the population density of a place, if the population density is increasing or if it is reducing. Then also in different countries of the world, we use population statistics or data to decide the geographical distribution of population, and as well we use it to decide or describe the sex distribution of a particular population to know the number of females and the number of male that are in that geographical location. Now quickly let's go over to the examination guide, and for this examination guide, let's pick a theory question from the exam guide for WAEC, and we use 2011. Let's go to 2011. So let's pick a question. Okay. Now, okay, let's look at the question number 1, theory 2, number 1 AI. Now it says define the term migration. Now what is migration? So migration is simply the movement of people from one geographical location, which is the source region, to another geographical location, which is the receiving or the destination region. So that's the definition for migration. Now the second question says we should name 4 types of migration in Africa. Remember I told you that migration can be from the rural area to the rural area. It can also be from the urban area to the rural area. It can also be from the rural area to the urban area, and it can be international migration, it can be seasonal migration, and it can as well be urban to urban migration. So these are the types of migration we have in Nigeria. So that's the second question in this theory aspect. So with that, we've come to the end of the class. Thank you for staying with us till this moment.